The last three chapters of Wano have been a joy. It's been amazing. It's been a great read. But I gotta say that it's not just the last three chapters. The entirety of Wano, the first act, has been a pleasure. It's been a pleasant read. And of course, I'm sure people are trying to rank arcs already based off of one act, because you know how we are. Well, when I say we, I mean y'all. When I say y'all, I mean the specific people that dump the gun on specific like small things. Like every chapter, they have a different narrative. They choose that. But I've just enjoyed this ride, and it's amazing to see how Oda's going through it, and it's gonna be based on acts. But we'll get more into it. Yo, this shit is so fire. Okay, One Piece chapter 924, Ha. Okay, so when I first saw the cover page, my first thought was, ha, that probably means something. It has something to do with, like Kaido was laughing at Luffy, or it's like, you know, my westernized American ass. I didn't think about it as the way like they structured it in the actual chapter, but we'll talk about that a bit more. The cover page, again, I don't care about fan requests that much. They look cool, but at the end of the day, they really mean nothing. So it's of course Sentamaru, and he's chopping wood for an elderly bear couple, and I don't know what to do with this. I mean, you can think about Kuma a little bit, the pacifist. I don't know. I'm not sure where to go with it. He still has a Sharingan on his chest, but in regards to the entirety of the story, it means absolutely nothing. So the chapter begins, and of course Luffy's still knocked out, and I know people were holding out hope that Luffy would bounce right up and he would not be knocked out, and in a way Oda kind of hedged his bets here, right? In which Luffy is indeed knocked out, but he's knocked out and it's supplemented. It's like he's knocked out, but right. So Oda masterful at this. They said he's still breathing. And Kaido's like, well, of course he is. So Kaido, in a way, already expects that much from Luffy. Like, of course he is. Like, based on what he's done and what, like, how I perceive him to be, of course he is. But then Kaido even provides more context on why he said that in the next panel. Another thing is that in the beginning of the chapter, Law had the exact thoughts that we had last chapter, at the end of last chapter. Okay, Law, you have to grab Luffy and get out of there. That's what Law was thinking. And I was like, okay, cliche shit. Law's going to grab him. They're going to get out of there. Going to regroup with the other Straw Hats, the other group, and then they're going to bounce back eventually. No. Not what happened. Not what happened. Too many times in which, in manga, anime, whatever, movies, whatever entertainment medium you choose, in which logical things that should not happen, or illogical things that should not happen, they happen, right? In which you're like, why did the villain let that happen? Like, why did this person let this person just stroll away? In a way, two things happened here. Logical and illogical. First, Trafalgar Law. He was about to grab Luffy. And logically, you're like, there's no way he should be able to grab Luffy. There's too many allies there, right? But that's happened before, where somebody's grabbed, like, remember a couple chapters before in which Okiku kept getting caught, right? Kept getting caught. It was just like, why does this keep happening? Why? Here, Luffy was about to get grabbed, and Hawkins pulls up. Was like, no, absolutely not. This was one of the most impactful panels of the actual chapter, because they went deeper into the lore of One Piece. And I feel like One Piece is a puzzle, and we keep filling different things in, right? Of course, the puzzle keeps growing, but Oda keeps filling different things in, right? So Law gets shot by a nail, and the person that shot Law with the nail was a fodder guy. It wasn't actually Hawkins, right? But Law gets shot by a nail, and Law's kind of annoyed at this point, because he's like, yo, Hawkins again? It's kind of getting annoying, and I agree. It's kind of getting annoying. I'm looking at it from Law's perspective, because Hawkins keeps interfering. Every single time he keeps interfering. Law got shot by sea stone nail. Now, sea stone bullets are something. It's something that we talked about before on stream. We threw out there like the Marines should have sea stone bullets. Ben Beckman, Yasop should have sea stone bullets, or just another way of like refining the sea stone where you can weaponize it. And of course, we've seen weapons before with sea stone and things to restrain you. Of course, the net. You had a sea stone net, sea stone cages, sea stone handcuffs, right? From like Alabasta, Logtown, those places, right? You have those things. But here, we've never seen a sea stone nail. And Hawkins provides more context and more information in regards to why this is. Sea stone originated in Wano. Huh? So it originated in Wano, okay? So that's where it came from. However, it is used around the world, even though Wano is shut off from everything, from everybody, from everyone. This made me think, right? It made me just ponder for a second. Is there any way that there's somebody that... Here's the thing. Here's what I thought of instantly. People are going to say I'm fanboying, whatever. Is there anyone that you guys can think of that would have been a middleman between the world government and Wano that could have possibly been siphoning off sea stone and selling it to the highest bidder? Anybody you can think of. Think of just one person you could think of, maybe that could be the middleman that could do that for the world government, even though Wano is closed off. You thinking of the same guy? Yeah. Yeah, we're thinking of the same guy. Doflamingo. Doflamingo, of course, was the underworld king. Joker. And of course, he traded a bunch of different things. And of course, liquor iron ore came to mind. There's not much information about it. But to me, I'm thinking that liquor iron ore is going to play a huge role going forward as far as the going endgame stuff. Because the impact of the sea stone bullets, that's huge. Because devil fruit users, they're going to be impacted by that. But back to Doflamingo, I thought of, okay, they're closed off from everyone. However, the world government, they have sea stone for marine ships. They have sea stone cages. They have sea stone cuffs. We saw that on Marineford when Oniguma put the cuffs on Marco. They have seamlessly a limitless supply of it. Who would be supplying this if it originated in Wano, which it supposedly should have been closed off for like 2 decades? At least. Right? Because Kaido has been occupying Wano for at least that long. And instantly I thought of Doflamingo was the one that was the middleman between the world government and Wano. And anyone who wanted sea stone. Of course, his the Smile Factory was made from sea stone. That makes a lot of sense now because Kaido had vested interest there, right? So Kaido, of course, he would supply sea stone to build the factory and reinforce the factory. I just thought this was really interesting. And they of course, they're hyping up the craftsmen of Wano again. And it makes a lot of sense since the craftsmen of Wano, or the Kozoki clan to be more exact, are the people that created the poneglyphs, right? So Wano seems to be a very important part of the world, which even makes it more interesting that the world government they did not try to take over Wano. When I think of Wano now, I think of, like, say the Middle East where they have oil, right? And you try to at least have friendly relations with those countries because of the resources there. With the world government, it's like, well, Wano's closed off. But I think it didn't matter to them because they had a way to get the resources anyway with Doflamingo. So that's another reason in my mind in which why they kind of bend it over backwards when Dofi was like, yeah, I need this, and this, that, and the third. Because he provided more than just being a Shichibukai in the face of the world government. He aided them while being the king of the underworld as well. So for them, they had vested interest in Dofi being out, even though they knew how sick of an individual he was. Which speaks volumes of the world government, which then gives more credence to why Dragon wants to rid the world of that scum. When I say rid the world of that scum, Dragon he really wants peace. He just wants better leadership. He wants to rid the world of the scum that is the Celestial Dragons. So I just thought this was really interesting. Everything that the Sea Stone and where that went and where it could possibly go. As far as Hawkins attacking Law with his straw sword, the Warabide sword, Pretty standard. I mean, Law blocked everything. Nothing. He didn't really hit Law, so it was like, okay, it is what it is. Law and Hawkins, they'll have their talk eventually. At one point, I thought that they could possibly still be allied, where Law had a talk with Hawkins before the fact, before Luffy and those guys got there. It's looking less and less likely every time I see them come face to face and show down, because Hawkins is really going for it. It could be a facade. It could definitely be a facade, but right now it looks legitimate. But we'll see what happens with Law and Hawkins. Kaido and Luffy. Back to Luffy being conscious, and I said it was like, okay, Luffy's knocked out, but they still found a way to kind of hype him up while being knocked out. So Kaido says, I can't tell if it's unyielding fighting spirit or just some kind of false bravado, but he's been glaring at me for a while now. And they show Luffy, and Luffy looks upset while being knocked out, and his eyes just look terrifying. And Kaido is like glaring at him because it's a feel. It's a presence. Even though Luffy's knocked out, you still feel that fighting spirit emanating from him. And of course, with observation Haki and different levels of Haki, you can feel different things around you, right? You start to feel the world around you. And for Kaido, he feels Luffy's aura. He feels his, like, just his resilience, even though he's knocked out. And this is kind of, I guess, confirmed the next panel. Because Kaido, okay, so first, Kaido and how he does things. All right? Kaido says to throw him in a cell. And I guess Kaido, he accumulates strong people and he breaks their will to make them a soldier of his. Begs the question that people that willingly join, do you have a method for them? Or because they willingly joined, it is what it is? Because he does things to break their will. You're not breaking Luffy's spirit. That's not happening. No chance. No way. No matter what you do. You could cut his arms off. You are not breaking Luffy's spirit. So that's dead. Another interesting thing that I thought whoa. Kaido says, make sure the word pirate isn't written in the newspaper. It's forbidden for the outside world to have any influence here. What does this mean? Okay, so first, other than the obvious that Kaido does not want pirates and all that stuff that kind of originates everywhere. He wants to keep Wano as like a safe haven for them. He wants to control the narrative within Wano. Which, when you're being a dictator, that makes sense. You want to control what the people know, what the people hear, because you don't want to revolt. You want to control the sheep and keep the sheep at as controlled as possible. That's Kaido's goal. What I didn't know was that Kaido cared about that. What I didn't know was that Kaido, being a savage that he is and being the deity that he is, would not even care about what the people think. Would just be like, I'm Kaido, nigga. You're gonna be here. Like with Big Mom. Of course, Big Mom puts on a facade, but all the people know about her hunger pangs. They're like, here she go again. They know about it. With Kaido, he's trying to control the narrative within Wano. Where Kaido is more of a savage dictator than Big Mom even is, and she takes lifespan. I mean, Kaido doesn't really care about half the country anyway, so that's another way. But these Yonko, as much good as they do in regards to the balance, they're sick individuals. But Kaido's a lot more in tune with things like that than I expected, which is great. Shows intellect. You know, it shows that, and it shows that Kaido, there are more layers to him than just getting drunk and fighting and war. A lot more layers, which I'm interested to figure out. But this is a tip of the iceberg in which, like, of what we're going to see. And I was really ecstatic about that. Another thing is Luffy used Conqueror's Haki while being knocked out. Again, spirit emanating. Conqueror's Haki, it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing. But what was amazing was that the guys get knocked out, and Shutenmaru, or Ashura Shutenmaru, he says, that's Lord Odin's ability. Did that unconscious brat use it? Okay. we got to have a conversation now. The Roger Pirates. Are we serious? Really? Really? Confirmed. They have not one, not two, not three, but four. At least 4 conquering kings on one crew. At least 4. Huh? 4? We saw Big Mom's crew. 2. Whitebeard's crew. 2. Shanks' crew, we don't know, but 1 confirmed. Luffy's crew, 1 confirmed. 4? Listen, you're not beating a crew with 4 conquering kings, because I think Conqueror's Haki goes back to, of course, having the qualities of a king, and I think that amplifies your abilities in some way in which you progress a bit faster than the others. It speaks to your strength and your will and your fortitude, right? That's what it speaks to when you show it. It's shown here with Luffy, just how much he's driven to be the pirate king. He's affecting life while being unconscious. That is insane. Insanity. But Lord Odin also had King's Haki. King's Haki seems to be, it can be a genetic trait in some way, based on what Garp said, in which Luffy used King's Haki in Marineford. He's like, oh, you have it too. So I think Dragon, confirmed, unconfirmed, King's Haki user. Momo could be a King's Haki user in the future. He already has an insane ability as far as talking to Zunisha. It would not be surprising if Momo would at some point develop that ability. The thing with King's Haki, once it's unlocked, it's trained based on prestige and how great you are, things you accomplish as you go through the One Piece world, as you grow. Momo is not going to have King's Haki while he's on the crew, while he's with the Straw Hats, right? So it's like, so go back to Roger Pirates. Shanks didn't have King's Haki at that point. Odin, Rayleigh, and Roger did. But it's like going to be the same thing with Luffy's crew, in which Momo's not going to have King's Haki then, but he will develop King's Haki in the future. But I thought that was really interesting that, Odin had the ability to use King's Haki. People thought I overlooked it when I was doing the reaction. No, I just felt like I was going to save it. Right? So I don't overlook it. I didn't overlook it. Kaido says something profound right after that. Kaido, of course, says, so you also have the ability to use Conqueror's Haki. The statement after that was like, holy shit. Just like that brat kid. Yo. Again, I have been on record saying Conqueror's Haki, based on what we've seen, seems to be lacking. Because Conqueror's Haki, it lets you know, Trebo said this, it tells you who has the qualities of a king, a conqueror, who's walking around with that king's disposition. That's what it tells you. These people, they have it. It's an it factor that these people have. I do not subscribe to the theory that you have to be a king or queen of something to have King's Haki. I believe peasants can have King's Haki because it's about you. I do not believe if you put on a Marine uniform, you no longer have King's Haki. I don't subscribe to that. I think it's kind of lazy. We haven't seen Marines, right, use King's Haki. Therefore, if you're a Marine, you can't use King's Haki. If you follow someone, you can't use King's Haki. We have individuals that follow other people that use King's Haki. Oh, they have their epithet is no. I feel like that's a bit lazy. I think so. Like, I don't subscribe to that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's the case. You have to be a king of. At one point I was like, it's plausible. I don't believe that because we have outliers, several outliers. Katakuri, Rayleigh. I mean, the epithet. I mean, come on, what the hell? The epithet? Like Luffy. What Luffy the king of? Luffy's the king of nothing right now. Great Terminal. Kid has Conqueror's Haki. And people saw how excited I was in the live reaction. Again, it goes back to how people have their narratives in their mind and they just ignore story context. They ignore what the story is trying to tell us. The story was clear as day, trying to tell you Kid is someone that should be respected. Of course, a Kid appreciation video is coming, so I'm not going to get too deep into it. But from the jump, Kid was mentioned, he had a higher bounty than Luffy at sobriety. Right? Of course, the caveat is there saying, well, Kid kills people. So people jumped and said, well, that's the only reason Kid has a higher bounty than Luffy. My argument was always that, yeah, that's a reason that plays a part into it. That does not mean he's not strong. At sobriety again, we saw attacks that Kid matched Luffy's gear 3rd attack, minus drawback. So in a way, Oda is telling us, and he literally told us in an SBS, I believe, I didn't have plans for the supernovas. The only supernova I had major plans for was Kid. And of course, Law became a fan favorite, blah, blah, so but he had major plans for Kid. And even at the end of last chapter, or the end of this chapter, it talked about fate. Like this was meant to happen. These two conquering kings were meant to come together. And I think this is perfect for me because if you guys have been following me for a while, you understand how I feel about rivals and balance and keeping the person who is on the straight road to become the Pirate King to have different obstacles in front of him. I do not want a straight shot. No, you need to have someone there to challenge you. Of course, Blackbeard's the end game. The Marines are there, but you need someone who can grow with you. Blackbeard was already established. Even though he had no bounty, Blackbeard had been dormant. He was a dormant beast. Right? Of course, you had supernovas that they started later in their life, whatever. But for your group, Luffy, Law, X-Drake, Aruj, Apu, Hawkins, Killer, Zoro, for that group, it seemed like nobody was on the same level as Luffy and, well, Luffy's crew. As far as prestige, Law had a chance, but then Law's crew hasn't been fleshed out as much as we've seen it from Law. We got some Beppo. We got, I forget the giant's name that got slammed by one of the minks. I say that to say this. I love this. I love where this is going because Kid being a rival and having Conqueror's Haki indicates that Oda has some plans for Kid. So, I mean, it confirms what he was saying. And I absolutely loved it. And again, the Kid slander for 2 years, that was annoying. That was extremely annoying because people slandered Kid mainly because he got beat by Kaido. And the only reason they're coming around now, they're all coming around, is because Luffy got one shot. It doesn't get much worse than one shot. So now you have no leg to stand on. It's like, it's either Kid got one shot as well or he did better. And for a Luffy stan, thinking that Kid actually did better against Kaido this late into the story, no. They could not accept that. There's no way. I think there's argument that he could have done better. Absolutely. Based on Luffy's state of mind and all that, there's absolutely a chance that Kid did do better. I'm sorry if you're hurt, but I'm just saying what I see and what I feel. You'll be all right. Kid appreciation video coming, and a video on Conqueror's Haki is also coming. I just feel like it's perfect for videos like these just based off this chapter. Another thing I wanted to touch on, and I'm sorry, it's a lot to talk about. It's really a lot to talk about. Kaido. Remember I mentioned something illogical in the beginning? What was illogical to me was Kaido saying, I'll let Trafalgar Law go. This is the prime opportunity to capture this guy. Why? Right? And then what made it even worse to me, he's no longer drunk. Right? He's rationalizing everything. He's thinking. This is rational Kaido we're seeing here. Another thing that was profound was he sighed. He said, I've gone completely sober. And he's going to drink more. Now, let's get into the mind of an alcoholic. Why do you drink? I've known alcoholics in my lifetime, and I've talked to people that's been in rehab, people that's out, people that's still alcoholics. Why do you drink? I drink because whatever is going on in my life is too much for me to handle, and that's my escape. That's where I go when I want to get away from it all. Okay. I understand that. Life is difficult and shit happens, right? Shit happens. Like there's things in life that you can't foresee. And if you're really young, you haven't really experienced anything yet. Honestly, I mean, of course, everybody isn't the same. But if you're really young, life hasn't really hit you yet. You go to school, you get off early, and you come home, you do homework, then you play video games. That's a tip of the iceberg. For Kaido, let's really back in. What is it that is affecting him to the point that he would rather be drunk all the time than sober? He could just love liquor. But for me, he sighed. I've gone completely sober. Where they killed his high. They killed his buzz. But this is a thing that he's always drinking. So I think there's things that Kaido went through, or Kaido is going through, that he's kind of trying to hide from. He's running from. It's affecting him. What is affecting him? Who hurt Kaido? What influenced Kaido to turn to the alcohol? Of course, it's like, why you read too much into it? He just likes liquor. Yeah, I hear you. But this is just how I saw that. This is how I felt when I said, I've gone completely sober. There's a problem there. Law and Hawkins again. Law got away. And Law even talked about like the sea stone, nail of sea stone, like they wildin'. Law literally said, no, they're wildin' with the sea stone nails. But he's worried about his crew. He's worried about the Straw Hats, and he called them idiots. Law's been around him for a while, so I can understand why he would say that. Hawkins, he's still gung-ho about capturing Law. He's like, we got one of them. But I won't let them escape from me. I will find them. I don't know. I don't know where his allegiance lies. I don't know where his loyalty lies. I don't know. I'm assuming with the Straw Hats and the crew eventually, but this guy is riding with Kaido and Jack, man. We get to another plot point in which it's Kinemon and Otsuru. And Kinemon, he had gotten to the place in which he can see Otsuru and he's spying on Otsuru. And what's interesting is he has on, I believe that's the devil fruit bag that they had back then. I feel like Kinemon, we've seen that bag or whatever that is with Kinemon before, back then on Punk Hazard, right? So he's using that and he's kind of covering himself, covering his top knot and watching Okiku. They're upset because the food that Luffy gave to them has been wasted. But as far as the dialogue with Kinemon, he's talking about Otsuru and he's appreciating her beauty. He hasn't seen his wife in a few months, but for her, she's aged 20 years. And she said, you haven't changed at all. We must reunite after we fulfilled Lord Odin's wishes. Of course, something that came to me was the fact that Otsuru, is it possible that she has a devil fruit to retain her beauty? And Otsuru has always been, in my mind, a traitor. In some way, there's something off about her to me. Hopefully I'm wrong because I enjoy this romance, this side romance that Oda is trying to, do with Kinemon, even though he has Okiku in a weird spot there. It's like they have a weird relationship. Regardless, I enjoy this plot point. In the midst of that, Shutenmaru goes by, and I'm assuming that's Kinemon thinks himself Ashura Doji, and this pretty much confirms what we pretty much knew already, that Shutenmaru is actually Ashura Doji. It makes too much sense. It's too much there for him not to be Ashura Doji, even from the silhouette. We see the after effects of Kaido's pepper breath. And okay, so first they were apparently saved by Shinobu, in which she has the mature fruit, in which everything she touches, it rots, right? But it's funny because she thinks it's a jutsu. They think it's a bewitchment jutsu, but everything she touches, it matures. That's opposite of like the King Midas, like the gold touch, the gold finger. But she did that to the ground and everybody sank. Chopper used a different form, I think that's guard point, to keep everyone abreast, keep everyone afloat so that everyone doesn't fall through the earth and sink to the bottom of the ocean. That's what he did. Sanji saved all the women, and I know people had a problem with that, but that's true to his character. And I would not, I mean, as far as Sanji, I would defend him to the end of time because the slander is a lot of times unwarranted. There's things about Sanji that's just you cannot deny. But I feel like a lot of times people jump on the bandwagon and they say things from what they've seen and not from what they understand or know. You just regurgitate what you hear, not what you know. Be you. Say how you feel. I see it too many times in the anime community in which people, they become a part of groupthink. And if somebody doesn't think the way that they do, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, sir? You know, so for me, I always look at it from the perspective of what do I think? Forget what everybody is saying. What do I think? That's why it's always interesting to like have conversations with yourself so that outside influences don't affect you as much, because you don't have the person you talk to the most is yourself. Every day you talk to yourself. There's something you're saying to yourself. You said, man, she found it. Man, that looking at me. And you know what I mean? There's always something you're talking to yourself in some way. So be good with you. Stop following people. Have your own opinions. Another tangent, but I digress. Sanji saves all the women, and Kiku has something to say to everyone. Not sure what that is, because we go to Inuyasha, and Tama is safe. Tama is safe, like we figured. Like, there's no way Tama would be dead. She's just too important to the story, I think, as far as being a catalyst for Luffy becoming stronger. And of course, the ace thing with Luffy, I think it has to be fleshed out a bit more. And of course, her controlling the Kaido's legion. What's interesting is that they just left her there, right? Because I thought her power was really convenient and really resourceful for you. You just left her there. So that's something that's kind of like, it's wild. And then Inuyasha said, how could you do this to a young child? I mean, that's not, that doesn't matter in war. They don't care how young you are. Of course, there's like, no, you don't touch the women and children, but some people go overboard and they kill all the women and children because they don't want a possibility of a revolt or rebellion in the future. The news about Luffy, it has made it around town, and we got some epic reactions by Frankie, Robin, Usopp to the actual poster. And as far as what the poster says, I'm thinking it just details everything Luffy did and when he got into it with Kaido. And for them, they're just like, whoa, come on, B. I know people are most upset with Robin because Robin has the ugliest old woman face in the world, right? And people are like, damn, is that how Robin's gonna look when she gets older? It's funny, but I think it's just a new face that Oda has post time skip. We had the NL face. This is the it's just amazing. It's an amazing photo and just goes along with One Piece comedy so well. Conversation came up about who's the better leader, Zoro or Sanji, and I mean, or like, come on. I think Sanji's the better leader, but Zoro right now, he is eating wasabi. He's not with the crew. I'm not sure what he's doing. Apparently, he should be going after the factories. So, but as far as his plot point, nothing is progressing right now. Nothing. He's just wandering. He's like a wandering samurai, just going through it, just trying to figure things out, just trying to find. And the thing is, I don't think he's trying to find anything, because Zoro trying to find something that just doesn't go together. So I don't think that's what the case is. He's just there, and that goes back to the leadership qualities in which he's always separated from the crew because he gets lost. How can you lead when you don't know where you're going? That's like how can you be a leader and you don't know where you're going? But as far as ideals and being strong, Zoro has that shit. That's a completely different conversation. Anyway, it's the next day now. We get an idea. We're getting a gist of how things are operating, in which they're telling them, you have to work hard for Lord Orochi. Your lives belong to them. And okay, we're somewhat introduced to a new character. Could be a new character. Could be someone we've seen before. I've seen what's been floating around. It could be Caribou. I don't think it's Caribou at all. But we are introduced to someone that they can eat poisonous fish that they use to kill people. And you just got to take the bones out, and he's fine. That's wild. That's wild, because he can eat poison. He can eat poison and not get affected by it. So who is this person? Now, a hint that I saw was that they said, is it a croco shark or something? And my thing was that it could be someone that's half fishman, or someone that they have immunities to poison already based on how they are and how they grew up and their, you know, their molecular structure. So I'm thinking this person that's in a cage could be half fishman or full fishman. That's my guess, that there's someone like, maybe they're derived from a fish that's poisonous, so poison things don't really affect them, right? So that's my headcanon right now. There's no way to be sure. We gotta wait and see who this person is. Luffy walks in, Luffy's bandaged up, and Luffy's pissed. And they said they thought he'd at least be as big as an all-star. And it goes back to all-stars. They are those that are supernova. Those are the calamities that we know of, but that's what they call them. In Wano, they call them all-stars. But Luffy, of course, he's a small kid, so they're like, yo, this small ass kid, like, you know what I mean? Someone forgot to take the bone out of the food, so this guy gets shot in his neck by whoever's in that cage. Luffy gets thrown into the cage. They said, stay here until your will breaks and pledge your allegiance to Master Kaido. And apparently they've been working Kid to death, and they said they will work Luffy to death the same way. And of course, we get that epic panel in which Kid is locked up and Luffy's locked up, and they're right next to each other in the cell. And they have the epic dialogue saying, "You'll pay for this, Kaido." First act is finished. Let's go back to Luffy being captured. I want you guys to understand that Luffy being captured goes so against what people thought would happen, because they didn't think Oda would go there, capturing Luffy right now already. And for me, that was a pleasant surprise, a very pleasant surprise, because you have a character, right? You have a character that's your main character. That's your baby right there. That's your baby. To put him in that position where he gets one shot, right? And then to have him be captured. There's so many places it could go, but I feel like it's spectacular based on what we expected and what we got. It lived up to expectation. I think it exceeded it a bit, because we thought Oda would fall short. Somebody would save Luffy, some cliche shit. Then they run around and somehow at the end of the 2 weeks, they find Kaido. No, they have to find Luffy and Kid. And of course, going next to Kid and what we saw revealed in this chapter, as far as like him having King's Haki, the parallels are clear here. They're clear. Now people are saying, of course, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But what we have to think about is Kid, right? And who Kid is and how Kid operates. Kid is not Luffy at all. Kid goes for it. Kid is the person in which he will kill. He will kill. His right hand is killer. Luffy doesn't kill. So they say they allied. They may run into a situation in which they need a separate ally, like an independent ally, like somebody from Wano, one of the supernovas, because if Kid and Luffy ally, there's going to be problems. I feel like there's going to be problems because, of course, they're chasing after Kaido, but how Kid would go about things, I think it would trigger Luffy, because Kid would probably kill these people. They had him in a cage torturing him. Kid would probably kill these people no matter who it is, which I can't. Nah. I don't think that's cool. As far as this chapter, it went to places in which I didn't think Oda would go. It sets up a bunch of narratives. As far as like how everybody else will move, that's going to be interesting. I didn't think I gave my rating when I did the live reaction, but for this chapter, I'm giving it like a 9 or 8.5 out of 10. Wano has been great. The Wano first act review will be coming as well, where I review everything in the first act, because I feel like there's some things there that I want to cover, and I want to keep us abreast as far as like things that's happened in the past, because it's been, like 909 was the first chapter, I believe, when everything popped off, and now it's 924. So it's been a while already. I think that's something we should always do, just kind of refresh. It's just a refresher, just so you remember things that happened in Wano already, because it's, again, 909 to 924. That's a lot of shit. I'm gonna get to the other videos this weekend so I can get them up for sure. I really enjoyed it. Again, 8.5 to 9 out of 10. But let me know what you think. What do you think about all this stuff from Luffy being captured with Kid? Who is this person in the cage? Like I said, I think it could be a fishman or somebody that was raised and went through that stuff. What do you think about Kid, now knowing that Kid has conquered his Haki? If you're a Luffy fanboy, are you switching up? So there's a lot of things there that I really want us to leave your comments below, because I'm interested to see how people feel about some of these things. At the end of the chapter, we saw the same girl that we saw at the chapter that Zoro cut down. Those people with a pocket knife, seppuku. I believe the name of the chapter was. So we saw this girl, and I think we're going to see her at the end and beginning of every act, right? So she was at the beginning of the act, and now she's at the end of the first act. So I think, of course, Oda is setting up in the way of a play in which it could be 3 to 5 acts, and I'm thinking 5 acts because I don't know if every chapter is going to be 15 chapters. I think that's what Wano was, or the first act was, or every act is going to be 15 chapters. I don't know. But this girl, her significance is just, she's like the narrator. She's just there to just set the mood. That's how I view her. If you guys know any differently, you can let me know. But fantastic chapter, man. I am so happy that I read this early and I didn't get spoiled, because that would have been devastating. Let me know what you think. How do you feel about this chapter? Do you like it? Do you think it's overrated? Do you think people were going out of bounds? Do you think people are going overboard? Let me know how you feel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not for more content like this. Expect some more content this weekend based off this chapter. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace.